Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Don Lemon Show, Lemon Live at 5. You know it is big news when I open up with the guest on the screen. And when it's a guest that is as important, as big a deal and a big a name as Mr. Jim Acosta, my colleague in new media and my former colleague from old media. I'm so happy that you're here, Jim. We just got the breaking news just moments ago. Barely had time to digest it. And the breaking news has put up the Wall Street Journal story Jim and I are going to go over. It says the Justice Department told Trump in May that his name is among many in the Epstein files. Yeah. Is this a shocker, non-shocker? How would you qualify this, Jim?
I guess it's maybe shocked but not surprised. It might be the operative term here, Don. I mean, I think we all sort of assumed that his name was in the Epstein files. I think it's the fact that they've now confirmed it, and the Wall Street Journal was able to confirm it through administration officials. Apparently, the New York Times has as well. And Don, I mean, what stinks to high heaven about this is that they told him in May. They told him in May that his name is in the Epstein file. So a couple of weeks ago, when he's freaking out in the cabinet meeting, and I've been, pretty close in the room with him in these cabinet meetings. There, you're right up against the wall, and you can see him just like a few feet away. I know when Donald Trump is freaking out. Donald Trump was freaking out 2 weeks ago when he was asked about the Epstein files, and he went off on that report. Why is everybody asking about the Epstein files? Why do people care? This is why. He was told in May, he has known about this since May, that his name appears multiple times in the Epstein files, according to the Wall Street Journal. And these are good reporters who reported on this, Don. So, I mean, I think that this is an earthquake here in Washington, and I don't think they know what to do at the White House, and I don't think Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, knows what to do either.
Yeah, look, and if you look at the byline on this, I mean, you've got some pretty big names. Josh Dawsey, you've got Alex Leary and Annie Linsky. I mean, Josh and Ali Linsky, and then Sadie Gurman. I mean, these are dogged reporters. And again, let's just keep in mind, Jim, is that this is a Wall Street Journal. This is a Rupert Murdoch-owned entity, as Fox News and the New York Post, etc. And I do have to give the Wall Street Journal their props. Even before this, the first bombshell with it, not a big bombshell, but it was, at least something that ties Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein with the whole birthday drawing and all of that. But even before that, the Wall Street Journal was among the most critical and really holding Donald Trump's feet to the fire, even more so than folks who are in sort of mainstream or what you would consider possibly left-leaning media. They have been doing what they're supposed to do without fear or favor. And I think that Donald Trump stirred up a hornet's nest when he said, now I'm going to sue them for that story. And here we are with another exclusive from the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, no, he stepped in it big time. And I mean, this goes to show you why you don't get into a fight with somebody who buys ink by the barrel, as the old expression goes. He picked this fight with Rupert Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal, and apparently the reporters were still on the story. And of course, something like this was going to come out at some point, but it just raises all sorts of questions. One being, why did the Department of Justice put out that memo a couple of weeks ago saying, the Epstein case, we're just going to put that baby to bed. There's nothing to see here, folks. Please disperse. And they had already told Donald Trump prior to the release of that memo that his name is in the Epstein files. The fact that they're sending Todd Blanche, his former defense attorney, who's now a high-ranking Justice Department lawyer, down to Tallahassee to meet with Ghislaine Maxwell, totally inappropriate, should never happen. In any normal Justice Department, that attorney would recuse himself and not be involved in that sort of a situation. But they're sending him down there, obviously to cook up some kind of deal with Ghislaine Maxwell to try to figure out a way to get Trump off the hook. But the problem is he's on the hook. He's in the Epstein files.
Jim, I've got to ask you this because, Donald Trump has a problem with the truth. We know that. And let's just say he lies a lot. And as you said, they told him back in May. Now, just remember, this was last week. I don't know if it was Thursday. You guys can find the exact date, but I don't know if it's Thursday, Friday, or whatever. That they told him. They told him in May. But this was his response when asked directly by a reporter if he knew that he was in the Epstein files or had anyone told him that he was in those files. And if you listen closely, this appears to be a flat out lie. Here it is.
The attorney General briefed you on the DOJ and FBI review, the findings of that review. The Attorney General briefed you on that.
On what? On the
DOJ and FBI
on what?
review.
On what subject?
Epstein.
Okay.
On Epstein, of the review of the files. Attorney General Bannon.
A very quick briefing.
Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release.
Jim,
Yeah.
was that a lie?
As my mother used to say, it's getting deep around here and I don't have my boots on. Donald Trump was so full of shit in that clip that you just played that his eyes must have been brown at that moment. I mean, I'm sorry. He was obviously, in hindsight, he was obviously dodging the question. But when he brings up Comey and when he brings up Obama, that should be like the bullshit meter should be just going, it's just kind of going off the charts there. And I'm sorry. I mean, he's been trying to play this game for a very long time. He is the one, and people like Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, they're the ones who got MAGA hooked on the Epstein conspiracy theory. Why he would allow that to happen when he knows he's in the damn Epstein files, to me, is just sort of self-destructive on his part. But to me, he's been lying and distracting. He's brought in Rosie O'Donnell, Colbert, the Washington Commanders, the Cleveland Guardians. I mean, he's done everything under the sun to try to distract us. They're trying to say that Obama is guilty of treason. Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files. That is the story. And now we need to know in what way. What did the president do and when did he do it?
Well, when you said the bullshit meter, look, and people have fact checked of this information, of this lie that he's making up about the former president, Barack Obama. This is PolitiFact. And if you look at any fact check, you will see that they're saying in 2016, after Donald Trump won the presidency, then President Barack Obama was trying to lead a coup with Trump's opponent, Hillary Clinton. That's what they said. They're giving him a pants on fire. That is the bullshit meter. Now, the confirmation of that is that if you just look at the records, you'll know. But also, he just lied about it. He just lied about it.
Exactly. No, and he's been lying about, Obama and Hillary Clinton with the coup back in 2016. Remember, he won the election in 2016. So why he says he was the victim of a coup back then, I don't understand that. It's very bizarre. I think he feels like a part of his presidency was taken away because he had to respond to the Russia investigation. He's the one who said, Russia, if you're listening, I hope you find Hillary Clinton's emails. And then the Russians did hack into her emails. So, I don't know why he continues to cry about this. He probably continues to cry about this because, as in the Epstein case, there's probably something there as well. And in the Russia investigation, it was found that the Russians did try to intervene in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump. So I don't know why he continues to bring this up. He brings this up now because his damn name is in the Epstein files, and he wants Fox and MAGA to be focused on something else. And I've seen this time and again, Don, you have too. He chums the water with this red meat for his base, and he hopes that they'll go and nibble up the red meat somewhere else rather than focus on the Epstein files. And what he is finding right now is it just doesn't work anymore. Nobody believes any of this bullshit anymore. Nobody believes anything that Donald Trump is saying related to the Epstein files. He has been held up as the biggest liar in the whole world when it comes to this Epstein story, because he's been saying this stuff nonstop for the last couple of weeks. When he was told in May, he's in the Epstein files.
You may have heard of this character called Kash Patel. I'm not sure if you've heard of Kash Patel.
Yeah.
Kash Patel. This is Kash Patel back in the day in 2024, wondering about the release of these files before all of a sudden they became, quiet or mute where they couldn't speak anymore. Here it is.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. that doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list. You don't think that Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list?
I mean, and now all of a sudden, once he gets a job, he says, "Oh, well, he unalived himself, so to speak." You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I mean, Kash Patel, first of all, how is he the FBI director? I mean, to me, that's still astounding to me.
Right?
But at the same time, I mean, these are the ones, the people who are in he stocked his administration, he stocked his cabinet with Epstein files truthers. These are the people who wanted the Epstein files to be released because they thought that when the facts got out, it would implicate only Democratic figures. Well, as it turns out, the president's name, Donald Trump's name, is in the Epstein files over and over again. And it's as plain as to the little puppy dog in your lap right now.
He's scratching. You had to put him up there because he's scratching the arm off. Yeah.
Duke was coming up to me earlier today too. No, but I mean, you know, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, JD Vance, Donald Trump, and all the major influencers who support Donald Trump and everything that he does, they've all been clamoring for the release of these files. And you just watch what these people are saying over the next 72 hours on. You remember when the Access Hollywood thing came out and we were all watching what Mike Pence had to say, what Paul Ryan, he was the speaker at the time, what did he have to say? Every time one of these politicians gets a mic in front of their face, it's going to be, what do you think about Donald Trump's name being in the Epstein files? Mike Johnson just sent all these lawmakers home in the House. They're all going to be doing these town halls.
Yeah.
They're all going to be doing these town halls. And what are they going to be asking at the town halls? Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes, of course they're going to be asking at Jeffrey Epstein about the Jeffrey Epstein question. 150%. Look, I just wonder. Hang on, let's see. What are we looking at? The Bombshell Wall Street Journal story timing here. The producers are telling me to put something up. Okay, let's put this up. What is this? Is this Elon Musk you guys are asking me to put up here, producers? Is that what you're telling me?
David Pepper, I think he's
David Pepper. The Bombshell Wall Street Journal story timing that the administration knew in May that Trump was in the Epstein files checks out with the Elon Musk, with the Musk-Trump feud. That's what I was just going to ask you about, right? Musk clearly heard about it, and his first tweet about Trump being in the Epstein files was on June 5. And although that sort of felt like old news for the White House, that was Musk revealing something really damaging that had only recently been confirmed and that clearly had hopes to bury. So it was far more, sorry, this is small types, far more brutal a tweet that we realized at the time, a true betrayal. And the reason why Musk took it down 2 days later. There it is. Hey, time to drop the really big bomb. At real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason why they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT.
Yeah, he's having a nice summer.
Sorry, I didn't realize this. And then he says, mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. I didn't even know about that one. And now the truth has come out. Did he start all of this off? Is this why they were going after him? I don't know. What do you make of this?
Well, I mean, there are a couple of things, Don. One is, I mean, Elon Musk, I believe, deleted that post. And, you know,
and allegedly apologized to Trump.
He apologized and all this stuff. You know, it's interesting. Elon Musk did get this party started, and it makes you wonder, what did Elon Musk know at the time? I mean, we all know, you and I both know, Don, you know, a Trump political organization leaks like a sieve. And, you know, there are always officials backbiting and turning on one another and putting stories out there and so on. So did somebody tell did somebody tell Elon Musk this? Or, I mean, here's the other question. Elon Musk's guys over at Doge were apparently hoovering up all this data and information when they came into office back in January and February. Did they somehow stumble upon the Epstein files? Who the hell knows? I don't know the answer to that question. But it makes me wonder, and I would ask Elon Musk the question, how did you know about this? Where did that come from?
you think that maybe he'll be subpoenaed in all of this? I mean, people have been saying, he
Yeah.
has everybody's information. I mean, he's
Absolutely.
how would he know? Let's see.
Yeah.
When did he bow out? He bowed out like in April, right? Was it, or was it May?
I think it was
May.
right around the time of this tweet. I think it was late May, early June, I think is when that went down. And because they were having this fight over the big beautiful bill and so on. And maybe that your team could fact check me on this, but I think it was more in that time frame.
Check it out for guys when his last day was. Keep going.
Yeah, because to me, that's damn interesting. That's damn important in all of this. But here's the question, Don. The question now moving forward is what happens next to Donald Trump, because he's now been exposed as a liar. This is like Bill Clinton. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I mean, he's been that video you just played. He's been exposed as a liar. He's a total liar now when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. And what does the MAGA base do with that information, knowing that he has lied about this? And to me, this has always been the whole ball game. When does the fever break? When do they come out of the trance? When is the spell broken?
There you go.
That's the ball game. And that is when you'll see Republican lawmakers turning on them. Because, I mean, these Republican congressmen, as soon as Donald Trump, is a lame duck and a lame duck in the Epstein files, they might be tempted to say, you know what, I don't want to lose my seat next year. I don't want to lose my Senate seat next year. Let's throw Donald Trump under the bus. Who the hell knows?
Hey, look, everybody, you're watching Don Lemon here on the Don Lemon Show, Lemon Live at 5, along with the great Jim Acosta from the Jim Acosta Show, on the breaking news that Donald Trump appears in the Epstein files several times, it says, and he was told back in May. And Elon Musk is now tweeting out, hey, there you go. Remember, Elon Musk kind of started all of this by tweeting, hey, here's the real tea, so to speak.
Right.
Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. Have a nice day, DJT. And then all of a sudden, here we are. By the way, his last day at the White House, according to my producers, was May 28th.
There you go. Yeah.
So if Donald Trump was told back in May, one would probably assume there are a lot of days before the 28th that he found out. And somehow Elon Musk was privy to the information and spilled it. And then now here we are. Now they're accusing. Let's talk about deflection, shall we? Because we'll talk about with Tulsi Gabbard. Would you rather do Tulsi Gabbard or Mike Johnson? You tell me where you'd like to go. What would you like to discuss first?
I mean, honestly, I think you go either direction. I think Mike Johnson. Yeah,
this is Mike Johnson. Let's go Mike Johnson, because Mike Johnson now, I don't know, maybe Donald Trump has gotten to him, but is trying to cast doubt on the legitimacy of the information and the files themselves. Here it is.
Epstein. Many are hoping to see more of those files released. There could be future court proceedings. Is there any reason that you have to believe that any documents were tampered with by so-called deep state operatives?
Look, it hasn't been my area that I've worked on. Unfortunately, I wish I knew more about it. It's been in the Department of Justice. One of our concerns is, of course, that it was held in the hands of the DOJ leaders under the last administration, the Biden-Harris administration. And we all know how crooked and corrupt so many of those top officials were, how they engaged in lawfare against President Trump. And he has a concern, and I do as well, that things could have been doctored in those records. So that's part of the concern. But I'm for full transparency. We all are. Maximum transparency. The president is as well. There's no daylight between him and the Republicans in Congress. And we'll continue to advocate for that, to let the people see the records and draw the whatever conclusions they will.
Wow, Jim.
Yeah.
Just wow.
It's staggering. It's staggering. I mean, I think Mike Johnson is in a real bind, and he does not have very good control over that House Republican conference as it is. I mean, they're already going rogue on this Epstein thing. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tim Burchett, some of the lawmakers there Tom Massey, and so on are going rogue. And so I don't think he knows what to do, but it sounds as though what we're starting to hear are some of the talking points that they may be putting out in the coming days, Don, to try to quash this. and say, oh, the Biden people, they must have doctored this, or, maybe, it was Comey, or, they're just going to try to cook up some excuse as to why Donald Trump's name appears in those Epstein files. I just don't, they've all been revealed as liars at this point. I just don't see how that is going to work with this MAGA base. I think they now realize that Trump's been caught red-handed here, and the question becomes, is the fever broken here? Do we see some kind of daylight here?
Well, let me ask you this. I want to play this because now Tulsi Gabbard is accusing Donald Trump and Tulsi Gabbard. They are accusing the former President Barack Obama of having some undue influence in the Russia investigation, the influence into the 2016, Russia's influence, alleged influence into the 2016 election, that it was some sort of conspiracy that he engaged in with Hillary Clinton and others in order to damage, sully, or ruin Donald Trump's hopes of becoming president or his presidency itself. This is what Tulsi Gabbard is saying. She said Obama, she calls it a years-long coup and treason. Here it is.
Do you believe that any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former President Obama?
Correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
Ed, go ahead.
Director Gabbard, thank you. So just two questions, but to begin on that. The president yesterday, you've inferred that the former president helped lead a coup. Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I'm not an attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people, our republic, and an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration.
The Senate Intelligence.
Oh my God. Okay, so she's not an attorney. Then why is she making those assessments that an attorney and someone who is steeped in law would make? If she's not, and why is she in that job anyways? I can't believe that she's actually the DNI head. So anyways.
And I think that it's another one of those examples where you have a political hack in a very important, sensitive position. And, they have to ask themselves, the question, who are they covering up for at this point? Somebody whose name appears in the Epstein files. You're carrying water for somebody whose name appears in the Epstein files. My God, have a soul, have some sense of decency and honor, Tulsi Gabbard. And, if you want to go back and relitigate the Russia stuff, I mean, we could talk here all night. But Trump said to the American, I was at the press conference when Trump said, Russia, if you're listening, we would sure like it if you could hack into Hillary Clinton's emails.
And they did.
And then the Russians hacked into her emails. And his own son, Donald Trump Jr., met with a Russian attorney at Trump Tower. You remember that case. It would have been investigative malpractice for the intelligence community to not look into any of that stuff. And there was a Senate Intelligence Committee report that stated that the Russians tried to help Donald Trump win the 2016 election. He just can't get over that. It's bizarre because he was the president after the 2016 election. He got elected to office. He lost re-election in 2020 and then lied about it and caused an insurrection on January 6th. So, I mean, this is a disgraced president who somehow got back into the White House and is disgracing himself again. And Don, we're on the dark side of the moon at this point. We don't know where this story is going to go, because I really believe that Donald Trump may be in self-destruct mode right now. I don't think he understands how to fix this, how to extricate himself from this situation. And I think that makes him dangerous.
Yeah. Hey, Jim, look, this is both of us had the same feeling about this. I know that you've been reporting on it, been watching what you're doing. And I've been saying, especially after this Wall Street Journal story, the drip, this was just the beginning. Everyone's like, oh, it's not that big a bombshell. And I said to my subscribers right here, this is only the beginning. Just wait. The Wall Street Journal would not do this unless they had something. And you know, once you've been doing this for a long time, you have an editorial compass where you're like, my spidey senses went up on this story, and I was like, this is a story I believe that breaks the spell. I don't believe it's going to remove him from office. But Jim, I appreciate it. Any final words? What do you think happens next?
Anytime to, you know, listen, I think that we just don't know what happens next. Keep your eye on these Republican town halls with these lawmakers. That is going to be, pop your popcorn now, set it aside, get all the melted butter and caramel and cheddar cheese, whatever the toppings you like on that popcorn, get that ready, because those town halls are going to be bananas.
Hey, I've got something for you, Jim. So put up the merch store and go to the popcorn thing. And Jim, I'm going to send this to you. So if we can, Andy, if you can grab that real quick, but go ahead. What were you saying?
Is it Don Lemon popcorn? I would love to have some Don Lemon.
No. I'll show you what it is. There it is right there. So click it up. There we go. So we're going to send that to you.
There you go. Perfect.
It's on the merch store. You go to donlemon.com if you guys want it, and then click on merch, and there you go. We're going to get that for you, Jim, because you're such a good sport. Jim Acosta, thank you. I really
great to see you, Don. Thanks a lot, as always. Anytime.
Always. The Jim Acosta Show. Check it out on YouTube and also on Substack as well. And anywhere you get social media and streaming, go check out Jim Acosta. He's a good dude. We're going to be doing more together. Jim, thank you. We'll see you soon.
Love it, Don. Thanks.
Okay, so listen, everyone. I have more to play for you. I have more to tell you about. You're going to hear from Caroline Leavitt, the ridiculousness of some of the things coming out of her mouth. Also, there's more where that came from in reference to Tulsi Gabbard. You heard what Jim said, a political hack who's now the director of national intelligence. Unbelievable. And you're going to hear from the great Miles Taylor, who went through this exact same thing of Donald Trump accusing him of treason. And you'll see what it has done to his life and his livelihood and his mental health and his physical health, his family, all of that, and his finances. It is unbelievable. But first, you're going to hear from them in just moments. But first, a word from our sponsors. Support for the Don Lemon Show comes from Z-Biotics. You know those rough mornings after a night out? Well, that groggy, sluggish feeling? I used to think it was dehydration, but it's actually a toxic byproduct your body produces when it processes alcohol. That's where Z-Biotics pre-alcohol comes in. Z-Biotics is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was created by PhD scientists to help break down that byproduct so you can wake up feeling fresh and ready for the day. I first tried it before a dinner party. I had a couple of cocktails, felt great that night, and even better the next morning. So before your next beach picnic, rooftop toast, or backyard barbecue, make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. You should drink responsibly always, and you'll feel your best tomorrow, okay? So head to zbiotics.com/lemon and use code LEMON at checkout, okay, for 15% off. It's backed by a 100% money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied at all, Z-Biotics, science that you can feel. Support comes from Chef IQ as well. You ever stand over a hot grill, sweating, trying to guess if your steak is cooked right? I've been there. That's why I choose Chef IQ Sense. It is a wireless, smart cooking sensor that goes right into your food, like a meat thermometer, but way smarter. You enter what you're cooking in the app. You pick how you like it, and it tracks the internal temperature of what you're trying to cook, and it does it perfectly. No more guessing, no more babysitting the stove or the grill. It sends an alert to your phone the moment your food is done. I get to enjoy my guests and still serve a perfect meal. I look like a real hero. Chef IQ is now having a flash sale for grilling season. You're going to get 15% off, okay? Go to chefiq.com and use the promo code LEMON, L-E-M-O-N. That's chefiq.com, promo code LEMON. So there you go, chefiq.com, promo code LEMON. Now, we're going to talk. I'm going to tell you, and by the way, thanks to all of our sponsors. Here's the breaking news. People are asking, Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. Can I say that again? Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. He was told about it in May. This is a story from the Wall Street Journal. This is the same entity that reported on his relationship or that with Jeffrey Epstein, the bombshell last week about the tawdry birthday doodling and note that he wrote to Jeffrey Epstein on his birthday that Donald Trump denied was him. And then Donald Trump denied that he had been informed about him being in the Epstein files. And he was informed in May. He stood on the White House lawn with Caroline Leavitt last week and lied directly to the press and to the American people. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Donald Trump has been lying. Now, what is he in there for? How is he mentioned? We don't know. But you can better believe if the Wall Street Journal has this information and it's coming out now, they know a lot more. And I told you guys that bombshell last week was only the beginning. Drip, drip, drip. Everyone is saying, oh, this is not going to take him down. This is going to go away. This is going to fade from the headlines. Perhaps it'll fade a little bit, but here we are. And I want you to keep in mind, again, the Wall Street Journal is a Rupert Murdoch-owned entity. Donald Trump has now filed a lawsuit against them, claiming that they made this story up and that it is bogus. And now here you go again, just a week, less than a week later, with another bombshell story about Donald Trump. And it's not the last of it. There's more. Drip, drip, drip. And Donald Trump is nervous. He is, as Jim Acosta said earlier, as a cat on a hot tin roof. He is feeling the pressure right now. Will this drive him from office? Well, is this the end of Donald Trump? I don't know. I don't think so. But this certainly breaks the spell of the MAGA cult, because now he's vulnerable and now they see through his lies. And it's not the first time that he's done this, blaming other people, trying to deflect from the Epstein story by blaming other people, accusing them of crimes that some believe that he is guilty of himself. Of this deflection, of trying to go against the people who speak out against him, who tell the truth about him and what he believes, who he believes are his political opponents. You guys remember Miles Taylor worked for Donald Trump. He's also a security expert, also worked for George Bush. He has been accused of treason as well recently, and he can tell you what it's like, what it feels like to go through the very same thing that Barack Obama is going through. Here's my interview just before the show with Miles Taylor. Watch. Miles Taylor joins us now. Miles, thank you so much for joining. Appreciate you. How are you?
Don, I think we've had better years, but 3.5 years from now, I want you to ask me the question.
Well, look, I think it's apropos that we have you come on today to talk about what this administration, in particular, the president of the United States and the head of the NSA, right, or the national security advisor, national security
office of the director of national intelligence,
the director of national intelligence, what they're accusing the former president Barack Obama of, and that is Donald Trump calls it seditious, but he means seditious, of sedition and treason. That is a very serious accusation, and not only that, it is extremely dangerous.
It is, Don. And I think, starting with the security piece is the first place to look at this. Now, we are in a very charged environment, and no one should know that better than Donald Trump, who was within inches potentially of his life in an assassination attempt a year ago. But now he's gone out there in such a volatile climate and accused his predecessor, Barack Obama, of one of the highest crimes envisioned by the U.S. Constitution, treason. And let me be more specific. When the founders conceived of treason being a charge that could be levied against someone in the United States, they believed it to be something that should be punishable by death and indicates an individual has engaged with a foreign adversary to undermine the United States. This is an enormous allegation to make against anyone, and Donald Trump has made that allegation against me. But now he's made it against a former president, Barack Obama. And you can't overstate that even if Donald Trump doesn't believe the words he's saying, like treason, his supporters do, because to them, it's not a word, it's an order. And it's an order to treat the former president like someone who is worthy of a death sentence. That's why this is so extreme.
Well, look, and I want you to talk more about that, and I want you to remind, if anyone should know, you should, because you've had the same, very similar accusations made against you by Donald Trump, and MAGA has come after you. You're a security expert. You worked for the George W. Bush administrations. You worked in the Department of Homeland Security, et cetera. So if anyone should know you? How did it affect your life when you were accused of these things?
Yeah, well, on April 9th, the president issued an executive order and signed it in the Oval Office and accused me of treason. What was my crime? My crime was speaking out against him from within his administration as DHS chief of staff, and then in the years after, opposing Donald Trump's reelection, warning the country that if he won a second term, it would be a revenge machine. That's what I kept saying. And ironically, one of the first acts he does in those first few months in office is come back and effectively prove my point by using the powers of his office to get revenge against one of his adversaries. Now, at that time, Don, legal scholars called me up to say that this was the first time in American history that a president had issued an executive order to investigate one of his critics for First Amendment protected speech. That's never happened in the 249 years that this country has existed. But since then, he's now started to use this as a somewhat frequent bludgeon. He used a similar executive order against my former colleague, Christopher Krebs, whose only crime was declaring that the 2020 election was free and fair. And now, this week, he's similarly accusing his predecessor, Barack Obama, of treason. Why? Not because Barack Obama or his staff committed crimes, but because they spoke out in a way that Donald Trump didn't like. And specifically, they relied on U.S. intelligence that said that Russia interfered in the 2016 election and that they had a preference for Donald Trump to win that election. That information cannot be, refuted. It cannot be disputed. I was in the room when those initial briefings came through. I was in the first Trump administration when we validated that was true. And even some of Trump's current top officials, like Secretary of State Marco Rubio, were leading the Senate Intelligence Committee that validated that those things were true. No, Russia's interference in 2016 was not some made-up lie concocted by Barack Obama to make Donald Trump look bad. It is a fact. But now we have the administration trying to rewrite the narrative to please the president. And I think that's incredibly dangerous for the future of truth in this country, Don.
I try to explain. Thank you so much for doing this, Miles. I'm so happy that you're here and doing this. And you can see in the comments, folks are happy that we're bringing light to this. All one has to do is, as you say, look at the information. It's irrefutable. And there is a distinction here with a difference. Usually we say a distinction without a difference, but there's a distinction here with a difference is that, yes, Russia did try to interfere with the election, but were they successful at changing any votes or tampering with any machines? Barack Obama made that clear. He even spoke about it in the press conference saying, no, yes, he said, yes, they did try to interfere, but no, it did not change anything. And the legitimate president, elected a president or president-elect is Donald Trump. And so I don't understand how it's some grand conspiracy when Barack Obama admitted that Donald Trump is a legitimate president and that they didn't change any votes. I don't get it. What am I missing something here?
And Don, you've perfectly highlighted the total disconnect here. They're trying to create a controversy where there isn't one, and they can't get one plug to plug into the other. It's like someone who's trying to get a Christmas tree to light up, and they got these two ends, and it can't happen because there is no connective tissue between those thoughts. The
I'm
real
Chevy
answer.
Chase here on the holiday movie. Right?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I mean,
Yeah.
the real answer here is Donald Trump so resents that people cast doubt about his 2016 election victory that he wants to get revenge against anyone who says that he had an assist from the outside. And, this is something that vexed his cabinet secretaries in the first term. I can remember John Kelly and Jim Mattis and those folks in the administration wondering why Trump was so wrapped around the axle when it came to Russia, and more specifically, why he catered to Vladimir Putin. I mean, his own officials couldn't explain why he had such a deep affinity, so it's not unreasonable for the intelligence community to have wondered whether there was potential engagement between the Trump campaign and Russia. And of course, that was largely shown to not be the case, but it was definitively proven that the Russians did interfere and try to tip the scales in that election. And Trump is now trying to rewrite history.
Well, look, I don't want to lose the plot here because the whole reason that this happened, that they're doing this, is a deflection from Jeffrey Epstein, which is the real story. And as I have been telling my subscribers, Epstein, 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 everything else that they're trying to do now, especially going through such lengths and, to try to accuse a former president of something. It's just, it's shocking to me. But then again, this is Donald Trump. This is ultimately, it is revenge, right? It is going after his enemies, but it is also a huge deflection, or try to deflect away from the Epstein story that they can't seem to get a handle on at the White House.
That's absolutely right. It's a massive attempt at deflection. And if you don't think that's the case, go back and watch what Tulsi Gabbard said from the White House podium. What, of all controversies, did she bring up? Hillary Clinton's emails.
My God.
Incredibly, a chunk of this briefing was spent talking about what was in Hillary Clinton's emails and what she supposedly said and what the Russians had in their possession. And there's been conversations in the administration about releasing more about Hillary Clinton's emails. I mean, here we are 7, 8, 9 years after this having happened. Give it up. But you're right. I mean, that's what made so clear to any viewer that this wasn't about Russiagate. This wasn't about Hillary Clinton. This was meant to be a total distraction from the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. And the president is losing his mind over this. And Don, I'll tell you, when I worked in the first Trump administration and we would engage with Trump, and if he was obsessed with something else, it led to a very, very dangerous and impulsive president. And I'll use Russia as the example. At the time, he, of course, called that the witch hunt. And his obsession with that witch hunt meant every given day, he was looking for another distraction to try to make people not focus on Russian interference and his efforts to potentially cover up the aspects of the investigation that the Comey team and later the McCabe team had underway. I now worry that that's the case with Jeffrey Epstein. Trump is so worried about, in his mind, this new witch hunt that every day he's going to look for more egregious and outlandish things to do to distract attention. The ultimate end result of that, Don, is a president with a wayward use of his powers doing things that a president shouldn't do. So I think we see a more dangerous Donald Trump because he feels backed into a corner about Epstein.
I do believe. I hear people saying, I don't think he's going to, ultimately try to jail or put Obama in prison. This is just, this is just a deflection and he'll let it go. I don't believe that. I think he'll try. I think he's a very dangerous character. And I think right now he's backed into a corner. You can see it in his body language. You can hear it in his cadence, and you can just see it on him in general. And it's obvious that nothing is working to get people to stop talking about this Epstein story. It's the number one story for the last 2 weeks since he opened his mouth and said, shut up and stop talking about it. Now people are more interested in it. But I do believe that he will try. Nothing would surprise me. I would not put anything past him.
The deep irony, though, if he does try to do that, is, of course, the legal arguments his Justice Department will have to make will inadvertently also pierce his bubble of protection. Let me put that another way. The Supreme Court, of course, ruled last year that presidents have this sweeping immunity for actions undertaken while they are in office. And Trump is going to be torn between two things: his deep desire for revenge against Barack Obama in this extraordinary accusation of treason, but also the fact that he'll have to puncture some way that bubble of protection around the office of the president in order to get revenge. Now, what I would suspect is, at a minimum, they end up going after at least senior Obama officials that don't have that same presidential immunity as Barack Obama has in the eyes of the Supreme Court. And that could get very messy. And I do think people like James Comey and John Brennan, who he's also accused of treason, are folks that his Justice Department wants to pursue. And it's going to get very, very convoluted here. And, even folks like myself, have extensive legal teams now in preparation for the possibility that the president is going to abuse his powers to try to bring fabricated charges against one or many of us.
Let's talk about that. That's real. And when I asked you, I said, what are the real life consequences here? I'm glad you're opening up and being more personal about this, because it's expensive and it is time consuming. Not only that, you have folks who make threats on your life. I am very aware that similar things happen to me. I had to have security and all kinds of things put into my home when I worked at CNN, and because of all of the threats. And as you and I were speaking before this, I get letters from jurisdictions all over the country saying this person who threatened to do this to you back in this day is being moved from this facility to this facility, or they have a hearing, or they have, they're being released, and we just want you to know. Would you like to write a letter to the judge? All kinds of things, and you're like, oh my gosh. Some of them, as you reminded me, is true. I get in the mail, and I was like, I didn't even know about this.
Mm-hmm. It's very real, and one of the first things you get told when you end up in the crosshairs like this is that you really can't count on a police response if the worst happens. And that's a really scary thing to be told, because you grow up thinking, look, a bad guy shows up at your door, you call 911 and you hunker down. But we live in a world today of political threats and assassination attempts and danger where you can't count on that response time. I think the best average response time in the United States is Ohio, and I think it's 5 to 8 minutes from law enforcement. And 5 to 8 minutes, very bad things can happen. And so this is a very blunt thing to say, but in my home, you're never more than 5 seconds away from a firearm. It didn't used to be that way. It's that way because Donald Trump has accused me of being a traitor, and his supporters have lapped that up and have made very credible and dangerous threats, not just against me, but against my wife, against my infant daughter, against family members. This is real. And his words become crowdsourced violence to his supporters. It's a dog whistle. And if anyone for a second thinks he doesn't want that to be the case, you can just go look at his verbiage. In my own instance, when he first started accusing me of treason in 2020, he said at campaign rallies, bad things, very bad things are going to happen to Miles Taylor. That wasn't a forecast. That was a request. And his supporters have acted on that request. That's what's so scary about this environment we're in. And with these latest accusations against Obama and Bannon and Comey and accusing these folks of treason, they will similarly have to worry about these things. And we've seen people want to go after individuals that the president says are high-profile targets. And it goes beyond that. You mentioned, Don, the legal aspect. I have more than a dozen attorneys now for different things.
How much is that costing you? It's got to be very costly.
It's extraordinarily expensive to try to defend yourself against something like this. And in the wake of being accused by Trump of treason, I was forced to leave my job because it was no longer valid for me to be engaging with technology companies to represent them in Washington, D.C. if the president was saying I was an enemy of the state. And so that put me in a position where I'm the sole income earner in my household, and I'm suddenly unemployed with a daughter and a wife, a family to take care of, a house that we might have to put up for sale to pay for legal bills. And that puts you in a really difficult position. Now, we're fortunate in our case in that a great organization called Whistleblower Aid, a nonprofit group, came forward and said, we're going to launch a legal defense fund. And they launched it at endpresidentialrevenge.org. That's END, presidentialrevenge.org, as a place to support whistleblowers who are being targeted by the White House for presidential revenge. If it were not for organizations like that, we would have not been able to start fighting back legally against this executive order. And the White House knows that. They know that's why these types of edicts work. You can intimidate and suppress criticism because you can threaten people with potential bankruptcy for putting them through this. And I have no doubt, as you noted earlier, that they're going to try to keep using that tactic against other people who've been in public service, including in administrations on the opposite side of the aisle.
I remember when it happened to you, and I just remember feeling like, oh my gosh, because we worked together at CNN. At least we worked together, played together, whatever you want to call it, on the set, and had some fascinating conversations and discussions. But I also remember my former colleague Andrew McCabe, when how expensive it was and how the toll that it took on his psyche and his family, and how thin he got, and just it was weighing on him, and how he aged just in a matter of months, years older. And I'm glad that he's finally okay, but still, this is real life consequences.
Well, and I'm glad you bring up Andy McCabe. Anyone who knows him, and I first met him before all of this craziness with Trump, when he was running the FBI's Washington field office, before he was deputy director, before he was acting director, and he was really widely regarded as one of the best agents in the whole bureau, right? A nonpartisan, down the middle, fantastic public servant. And I similarly watched up close as this happened to him, as Trump accused him of all sorts of things and sent the inspector general after him and tried to make his life miserable during the first term. And then, of course, launching IRS investigations into him. And it does take an enormous toll. And I had a conversation with McCabe on a podcast a couple years ago where he opened up and he said, look, this made me unemployable. You know, he said, my predecessors would leave the FBI and go on to extremely profitable jobs to help their families, you know, head of security at the NFL or these other things. He said, you know, that wasn't why I went into public service. But he was like, after they took away my pension, which they did, they fired McCabe just before he would have qualified for his pension. He said, I had at least hoped to create a foundation for my family by going to work in the private sector. But after being targeted by Donald Trump, it made it extremely hard for McCabe to be able to go get the type of job he needed to support his family. That has now become a common tale. I mean, I mentioned having to leave my job, actually being forced out of my job by my business partners after the Trump executive order in April. But that also happened to my colleague, Chris Krebs. He had to leave his job, here in Washington in the wake of that. And again, the White House knows that this individualized revenge works, and they want to intimidate people into silence. And the only way, Don, to counter it is just to show that you will not be cowed. And that's a decision my wife and I faced, which is, do we fight back against this, which will be expensive and emotionally costly and all of the things that come with it, including inviting more potential threats, or do we just shrivel up, go into a corner and hope it blows over? And we decided to do the first one, and we're not going to back down.
Yeah. Well, Miles, it's so good to talk to you. I'd like to continue to do so on a fairly regular basis, because I think you just have so much to offer. You have so much insight, and you're just a good guy. Thank you for joining us. Okay,
Don, great to be with you. Thank you.
Where can we find you? We can find you on Substack. We can find you YouTube, social.
You can find me on Substack at treason.substack.com. If the president says dissent is treasonous, then I suspect we're going to see a lot more traitors in this country.
Someone in the comments has just donated to Miles. So glad you are bringing this to the fore. Shared on Blue Sky too. Thank you, Miles. Be well. Okay.
Thank you, friends.
It's nice to speak to someone who has such deep insight. Fantastic. Thank you very much to Miles Taylor. And now, before we get to the rest of the show, a word from our sponsors. So support for the Don Lemon Show also comes from 120 Life. High blood pressure is no joke. It is the #1 risk factor for death, and 1 in 2 adults has it. I have close friends that are dealing with it right now, family members as well. 120 Life is a delicious blend of superfruit juices designed to help lower blood pressure, okay? And it does it naturally. No prescriptions, no hassle, just real results. Doctors trust it, and you can track your progress at home using a simple monitor. Try it risk-free and see real results in just 2 weeks. Here's what you do. You go to 120life.com and use the code DON to save 20%. That's 120life.com, promo code DON. Nothing to lose but your blood pressure, your high blood pressure number. So this is your life that we're talking about. 120 Life can help. Support for the show also comes from Lean, L-E-A-N. If you've heard about weight loss injections, but you don't want needles or side effects, there is another option for you, and it's called Lean. Doctors created Lean using natural ingredients like caralluma. It's an edible cactus from India that helps suppress appetite, okay? So Lean supports healthy blood sugar, controls cravings, and it helps your body burn fat for energy. I've talked to people who have had real results without the downsides of injections. Just smart science-backed support in a supplement form. Right now, go to takelean.com and use code LEMON20. Go to takelean.com and use code LEMON20 to get 20% off. That is takelean.com and use the code LEMON20 for 20% off. Okay? These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure or prevent any disease, but it might be the natural boost you have been looking for. Thanks to our sponsors. Absolutely. Thanks 100% to our sponsors. So here we go. The folks in MAGA world are mad at the Wall Street Journal because they are exposing their dear leader. The Wall Street Journal is not messing around. Donald Trump is suing Rupert Murdoch's Wall Street Journal. He is suing News Corp. He's suing a lot of folks. Okay. This is what Steve Bannon is saying. He's so pissed about all these revelations coming from the Wall Street Journal. Here it is.
And the Wall Street Journal and the Murdochs, as I have warned for years, are true enemies of this movement, true enemies of MAGA, true enemies of the United States, and particularly true enemies of President Trump. The other day, the half-baked story where they dropped it because Tulsi was releasing the first information on Friday to Bigfoot the story with the fake news phony poem and the phony drawing that they've never shown anybody. Today, Tulsi comes for a command performance, and Caroline Leavitt looked him right in the eye and said, hey, you guys are good. You're paying people that are named in these documents that are guilty of a treasonous conspiracy, right, and a coup against a sitting president, and you're paying them as commentators for the last years and just sit there for 6 or 7 years and hammer every day their lies and misrepresentations as she's showing. And what does the Wall Street Journal do? Immediately after that, they drop another story about President Trump. Oh, President Trump, you know, he's got this with Epstein. And President Trump and Caroline come out right away and say fake news. The Wall Street Journal is the enemy. They're coming after Trump with half-baked fake news, and they're trying to do it every day to Bigfoot, but Tulsi Gabbard's coming out with fact.
And can you just back that up, that soundbite, and just freeze the last frame of it? I just want you to, as that sad music, just freeze the last frame of it, because I think Steve Bannon needs to take a good long look over his left shoulder. And that would answer all of his questions. Okay? There are no conspiracies, but there are no coincidences. Coincidence that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? I think not. Conspiracy theory that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? No, he's in there. The Epstein files a conspiracy? No. Remember, someone went to prison, died. And someone is still in prison. They want to talk to her. There are no conspiracies, but there are no coincidences. Steve Bannon, take a look over your left shoulder, buddy. Oakley dokley, look, hey, we had all this stuff from Tulsi Gabbard that I could play for you, and all of this, but basically Tulsi is saying the same thing, right? Tulsi Gabbard is saying that she was, I'm just going to play it for you guys, because she's really way out ahead of her skis on this one. She's admitting she's not an attorney. She doesn't know anything about the law, and yet she is the director of national intelligence. Okay. So she was asked, after she said this was a years-long coup and treason by Barack Obama and others, she was pressed on Rubio, on his previous investigation by Marco Rubio, because Marco Rubio was part of a bipartisan investigation that found that there was interference in the election, but no votes were changed and everybody agreed. They did not affect or infect the voting machines. Here's Tulsi Gabbard when pressed on Rubio's previous investigation.
The Senate Intelligence Committee spent several years looking into this and unanimously agreed in a bipartisan fashion, Secretary of State Rubio was a member of that committee, that there was no political interference. There was a years-long Justice Department investigation into this as well that also concluded no political interference. So help us from a 50,000-foot level explain, what do you now have that refutes those two?
Sure. I will encourage you, in my role as the Director of National Intelligence,
Nothing.
My job, again, as I said when I came into this role, was to make sure that we are telling the truth to the American people, and that we are ensuring that the intelligence community is not being politicized. So I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm asking you in the media to conduct honest journalism and the American people to see for yourself in the documents that we've released now, close to 200 pages, that point in multiple references, multiple examples, to include comments that have been made by senior intelligence professionals who are some still working within these agencies today that confirm the conclusions that we have drawn, that President Obama directed an intelligence community assessment to be created to further this contrived false narrative that ultimately led to a years-long coup to try to undermine President Trump's presidency.
And it's your belief that those two previous investigations missed that or covered it up?
I'm telling you to look at the evidence. Look at the evidence and you will know the truth.
John.
Look at the evidence and you will soon know the truth. Did not answer the question. Like, what do you have? Show us the evidence. You look at it. And by the way, just a reminder, she was questioned about Marco Rubio's previous Senate intelligence investigation. This is Marco Rubio after they came to the conclusion in a bipartisan Senate investigation. This was Marco Rubio then.
Cyber tools were used as a means to an end. It isn't necessarily what we should be focused on here. What we're talking about here is active measures. The active measures taken by the government of Vladimir Putin to influence and to potentially manipulate American public opinion for the purpose of discrediting individual political figures, sowing chaos and division in our politics, sowing doubts about the legitimacy of our elections. So if you look at the situation we now face, here's the aftermath. We had an election where, after some intrusions into some state databases, there was a one nominee for president warning about fraud in the election. And then after the election, we have some on the other side questioning the legitimacy of the president-elect because of Russian interference. And we have the president-elect questioning the credibility of the intelligence community because of its findings. This sounds like a pretty effective and successful effort to sow chaos, to undermine credibility of our leaders and of our government institutions. In essence, it sounds like they achieved what they wanted, to get us to fight against each other over whether our elections were legitimate and divide us in the way that sows the sort of chaos that they sought to achieve.
These people, damn, they have no shame. None. Now, let's see it. I want to see what Marco Rubio says over the next couple of days. If he's going to remain mum, silent, if he's going to, I just want to see what he has to say. Tulsi Gabbard could not answer why Trump didn't declassify Obama's alleged crimes by them. Here it is.
Gabbard, you declassified these documents, if I'm not mistaken, Friday of last week, correct?
We released them on Friday of last week, the first tranche, yes.
This isn't the first time that President Trump has been president of the United States. He was president from 2017 to 2021. Couldn't the prior DNI under President Trump have declassified these documents? And why didn't that DNI do that at that time?
I can't speak to what happened there. There were several DNIs under the first Trump administration. President Trump faced many challenges from those who were working in the government who sought to undermine his presidency. That's been clearly detailed. What I can speak to is the fact that this was one of the first things that we started to investigate here within this Trump administration and have released the results upon the conclusion of our investigation.
And then my second question has to do with what?
Tulsi. Girl, come on now. And a doozy. Caroline Leavitt. Now, I want you to take away what you think of this, because he was asking if Obama should go to jail. I'm going to report and you're going to decide. Here it is.
Sure. Given what the DNI just said and laid out, does President Trump believe that President Obama should go to jail for something?
Look, the president believes that this matter needs to be thoroughly investigated, and anyone convicted of crime should be held accountable in this country. Go ahead.
Now, did you guys hear that question? Did you hear her answer? Now tell me what the follow-up should have been. Immediately. No cross, someone said. But tell me what the follow-up should have been. Did you hear the answer to that question? Jeff, you're right on TikTok. WSJ is not done. Trust. But does any thank you very much. Where's Afro Curls? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Why wasn't journalists? What are you doing? That would have been the first thing out of my mouth before she could yell to somebody else. Why no follow-up question? Does that, again, right here, does that also apply to Donald J. Trump? Do you understand what I'm saying? Then Trump can be sentenced? You guys are not journalists. You're lay people. Some of you may be journalists. I don't know. You're smart people. Why wasn't that the immediate follow-up right after she answered that question? Let's hear it again. Please play it again, Andy. Please play it.
Sure.
Given what the DNI just said and laid out, does President Trump believe that President Obama should go to jail for something?
Look, the president believes that this matter needs to be thoroughly investigated, and anyone convicted of crime should be held accountable in this country. Go ahead.
Ms. Levitt, does that apply to Donald Trump? Because he's now the president. He was convicted of 34. So does that apply to him as well? So that means Donald Trump should face the consequences and, or as you are insinuating, should go to jail. No? No, I didn't call him. No. But I know you didn't call me, but that is the follow, and I should be granted that follow-up. It goes to, that's exactly the question that should be asked after this. If you say, I'm not calling on you, Don. No, but pardon me, please. Sorry. If you say that everyone should suffer and face the consequences, does that not apply to Donald Trump, the president of the United States? You are his spokesperson. Please answer that question for me. No one? No one. What the fuck is going on in this country? Why? That was a layup. She served it to them on a silver platter, and no one, unless I'm missing something, please tell me. I could be wrong. Has anyone seen a soundbite? Did you watch? Did they ask her? Did they follow up with that question? And then after that, I'm going to say, well, if you think that everyone, then why did Donald Trump fight for presidents to be immune? But why did he then? If he believed that everyone is equal under the law, and why is he pushing for presidents to be immune? That was him. He did that. And in that same vein, if Donald Trump is immune as president from being prosecuted, wouldn't that mean the same thing for Barack Obama? So all of this is for naught. What is going on with the fucking journalists? That is the follow-up thread right there. My God. Jesus. Oh my God. Anyways, maybe please tell me, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they followed up. Maybe someone asked her that. Anyway, I'm done. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Look, check us out. Go to donlemon.com. Check it all out. This is so frustrating. Tomorrow, this is why you need to support. Please support independent journalists, people like me and Jim and Miles, who are out there fighting for the truth, fighting for you guys. Become a member. Subscribe. Help us to stay on these streaming streets. And just so, let me tell you why you need us. I'm just going to give an example, and I wasn't even going to play this one for you. It is so frustrating. Here's why. This is from CBS. You know, CBS is trying to, Paramount is trying to merge with, to be bought out by this company called Skydance, okay? And you know the thing has been going on. Now they have settled. They're going to give Donald Trump this money, and then they're going to give him the free advertising. This is, check this out. Do we have that? Do we have the thing from earlier? Did I send this to you guys? I don't know if I sent it to you. Did I send you the thing from Skydance? Andy,
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm just going to send it to you real quick because I have it right here. Oh my God. Stand by, Andy. Sorry, my bad. I must have sent it to someone else. I probably sent it to myself because we have Lemon on the thing. Put this up. This is why, and this is why I said I got to go. This is why this is so damn frustrating for everybody. This is why it's so damn frustrating for everybody. And this is, again, remember, CBS settled. They're going to settle because they want their merger to go through. So Skydance, this is a reporting. Skydance promises Trump FCC it will eliminate DEI programs in desperate bid for Paramount merger, according to a report. That's why I say you don't have to sit in front of the television and be outraged by the outrage porn that nothing ever gets accomplished, that you can be informed without being inundated. And so until I see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time, live here, right here on the Don Lemon Show, on the Don Lemon channel, on YouTube, on Substack, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, on iHeart, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Till I see you then, turn the TV off. Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.